Hey, it's great to have you back this week. Last week, we talked about the fact that everyone is called to minister. Everybody has a ministry. And we began to talk about our spiritual shape. Last week, we took that acrostic and we looked at the very first letter, the letter S, which is our spiritual gifts. Today, I want to talk to you about our heart, and then I want to talk to you about our abilities. So let's start off and talk about our heart. How do you know what your heart is? Here's an easy question that will tell you what your heart is. It's what do you love to do? What is it that motivates you? What do you get jazzed about? You just get all excited and you just go, man, I can't wait for that. See, that's what your heart is. Here's the principle. Just because you have a spiritual gift in an area, that's not the only thing that determines what kind of ministry you should do. I talk to people all the time that say, Pastor, I'm using my spiritual gift, but I'm just not getting any thrill out of it. I'm not feeling fulfilled in using that spiritual gift. And that's because you have to look at not only your spiritual gift to find your ministry, but you have to look at your heart, your abilities, your personality, and your experiences. And when you get all five of those things going and you find a ministry that uses all five of those things, when they get into sync with what you're doing in ministry, you're going to find two things. You're going to find fulfillment and you're going to find fruitfulness. If you've been to the membership class, you've heard my story about Mrs. Newberry. Mrs. Newberry is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. It was when our little family was we were making the transition from our first church in East Texas over to Western Kansas, Garden City, Kansas. And Ashley asked a question that everybody asks the first time they go to any church. It's a great question. She was so smart. She said this. She said, Dad, Mom, is anybody going to like me when I get to the new church? Everybody asks that question the first time they come into church. Is anybody going to like me? Great question. Now, in Garden City, there was a kindergarten teacher. Her name was Mrs. Newberry. And she wrote Ashley a note. During that transition time of 3 or 4 weeks before we had actually made the move, Mrs. Newberry would write Ashley notes. And she would say, Ashley's just in kindergarten. And these notes would say, Ashley, I'm so excited to have you in my kindergarten class in Sunday school. She would write a note. She'd say, Ashley, I can't wait to have you here in my Sunday school class. And Ashley was all excited. First Sunday we get to Garden City, Kansas. First Sunday, Robin and I take Ashley down to where the Sunday school classes were for the kids. And we're walking down the hallway. I'll never forget this. We're walking down the hallway, and Mrs. Newberry is standing outside of her class waiting for Ashley to come, and she sees Ashley and she opens up her arms. Ashley goes running and she gives her a big hug and she said, Ashley, we're going to have such a great time. She took her into class. Ashley loved Mrs. Newberry's kindergarten class in Sunday school. When she moved on, Colin came up, and when he was old enough to go, Colin loved Mrs. Newberry's class. Everybody loved Mrs. She was a fantastic teacher. She'd been teaching kindergarten class in that church for over 50 years. It was incredible. And I remember taking everyone in that church through a spiritual gift test. And I didn't realize in those days that there were other parts to helping you find out the perfect fit for ministry. I thought it was all about just your spiritual gift. And so I told people, I said, you need to find out what your spiritual gift is, and if you're not using that in ministry, then you need to change ministries, and you need to be using that. And so everybody took the test. I remember Mrs. Newberry, when we got done taking the test, we were standing out in the foyer of that church. Mrs. Newberry came out from the inside the sanctuary where we were taking the test, and she had tears just flowing down her face. And I said, Mrs. Newberry, what's wrong? You never wanted to see Mrs. Newberry crying. And she looked at me and tears in her eyes, and she said, Pastor, she said, I don't have the spiritual gift of teaching. Does that mean I have to give up my kindergarten Sunday school class? I said no. And it was at that point that I realized there's more than just your spiritual gift that will help you find the right ministry fit for you. For Mrs. Newberry, she had a passion. She had a love, an excitement for teaching kids, kindergarten kids. And when you were in her class, you just felt like you were the most special person on the earth. Well, in your workbook, here's what it says underneath the heart part. It says, physiologically, each of us has a unique heartbeat. Each person has slightly different pattern. Likewise, God has given each of us a unique emotional heartbeat that races when we encounter activities, subjects, or circumstances that interest us. We instinctively feel deeply about some things, not so much about others. Hey, you found that to be true, haven't you? Isn't there things, if you're married, isn't it true there's things that you are passionate about and you have a heart for, and your spouse, maybe not so much. Maybe your spouse has a passion for shopping or a passion for sports, and you, I really don't care that much about it. Well, see, that's the way God has made us, and we're different. We have different passions, and this God-given motivation, it serves as an internal guidance system for our lives. It determines this passion, this heart. It determines what your interests are, and what brings you satisfaction and fulfillment. It's the thing that motivates you to pursue certain activities or subjects or environments. Why has God given each of us a unique heartbeat? Why? Well, the Bible tells us in Revelation, says this, John writes, God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose. That's it. So let's talk about taking our spiritual EKG, our spiritual blood pulse, whatever. If you're like most people, you have never taken time to sort out and kind of identify the things that you're good at, things that motivate you. And as a result, it's unlikely to use the talents as completely and as effectively as you possibly could. Well, the key to understanding your heartbeat is to look at, here's the question, what is it that you love to do? I love this story. It was probably about a month and a half ago. And I was shaking hands with people, and I missed somebody, and I desperately wanted to say hi to them. They'd been on vacation, and I knew where they went. And so I ran out to the parking lot and said hi to them and talked to this couple for just a little bit. And then I looked at Dave, the husband, and I said, Dave, I said, what is it that you just love to do? And he said, Pastor, the thing that I absolutely love, I'm really good at fixing things. I love to just help people fix things. And I looked at him and I said, Dave, you're not going to believe this, but we have a ministry for that. His eyes got really big, and he said, you do? I said, yeah, let me get your name and your number and your information, and I'll pass it along. So I passed it along to somebody, and they got a hold of him, and I asked him a couple weeks later, I said, hey, Dave, I said, have you been able to go help some people? And he said, yeah, Pastor, this is a great ministry. This is a ministry where we're able to go and help widows and single moms, people that don't have very much money, can't afford to have people come, a group of men come and help them fix things around the house. And so we just go, I've done that twice. I've gone with a group of guys and we've helped fix it. I'm telling you, he was so excited. That was a passion, and he found the ministry that fit what he had a heart and loved to do. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Small group leaders, I want you to stop the DVD, and I want you to take a couple of minutes, and I want you to go around the room and ask this one question. What is it that you just love to do? And maybe people would give 2 or 3 things. Maybe just once and go around a couple times. I don't know. But ask that first question. It's in your notes. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, there's questions 2 and questions 3, and you can do that as well. All right. Turn off the, but don't forget, I'm coming back. So when you get done with that question, make sure to turn the DVD back on, and we'll finish up tonight talking about abilities. All right, I hope you had fun going around the group talking about your heart. What is it that you love to do? I want to close tonight by talking about abilities. And I want to start talking about abilities by reading a story. Maybe you've heard it before. It's called The Animal School. It says this: the animals had a school. The curriculum consisted of running, climbing, flying, and swimming. All the animals took all the subjects. The duck was good at swimming and fair at flying, but he was terrible at running. So he was made to drop the swimming class and stay after school to practice his running. He kept up until he was the only average at swimming, but average was acceptable. The others, including the teacher, were no longer threatened by the duck's swimming abilities, so everyone felt more comfortable except the duck. The eagle was considered to be a problem student. For instance, in climbing class, he could beat all the others to the top of the tree. but he insisted on using his own method of getting there. He had to be severely disciplined, and finally, because of his non-cooperation in swimming, he was expelled because of insubordination. The rabbit started at the top of the class in running, but obviously he was inadequate in the other areas. Because of so much makeup work in swimming, he had nervous breakdown, and he had to drop out of school. The turtle was a failure in most every course that was offered. His shell was considered to be the leading cause of his failure, and so it was removed. Remember, this is a story. This did help his running a bit, but sadly, he became the first casualty when he was stepped on by a horse. Here's the summation. The faculty was disappointed, but all in all, it was a good school in humility. There were no real successes. None seemed to measure up to the others, but they did concentrate on their weak points, and some made progress was made. You get the point here. Everybody doesn't fit the same mold. And you know, at some places, they try to zero in at what you're not good at. But at our church, I want to tell you how we figure this. We want to zero in on what you're really good at. In the membership class, I make this comment that everybody is a 10 in some area. God has given you an ability in some area that you are really, really good at. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul says there are different abilities to perform service. And then in Exodus chapter 31, God says, I have given him skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts. If you'll circle those three things, skill, ability, and knowledge. When we talk about the letter A in the word shape, what are we shaped to do ministry for? We're talking about our abilities, our skills, and our knowledge. One of the excuses I hear people saying all the time on why they don't do ministry is, well, you know, Pastor, I just don't have any abilities to offer anybody. And I'm telling you, nothing could be further from the truth. The key is matching your abilities with the right ministry. Studies have shown that when you take the average person and you sit them down and you go through a list of abilities, that the average person has 500 to 600 different abilities. They just don't know it. So I just want to tell you, you're good at a lot of stuff. In your workbook, there's some questions to help you with this idea of abilities. First one is this: write down my current vocation. Okay, so what do you do right now? What's your vocation? You may never have realized, but God wants you to offer your vocational skills to help the church family. Did you know that every Tuesday afternoon, we have a group of people in our church that are mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, and they come Tuesday afternoon, and Pastor Larry has a list of things that in the tech area, we need help with mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, and they are able to go through that list and help Larry out, get those things settled and done. They're so helpful. They do that, a great ministry. I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but we're getting ready to build a new building in a couple of years. And one of the things when we get ready to build the building, if you've got construction abilities, we are really going to need you. So that's important as well. Here's the second question. Other jobs or skills that I have experience in, and write that down. Maybe you can think of some right now. Number 3, I feel like I have these specialized abilities, and you can write a couple things there. And then number 4, I've taught a class on, it could be anything, you know, I taught a class on safety or communication or media, or, you know, we have history teachers or whatever. We have someone in our church that is known throughout the state of Arizona as one of the leaders in teaching CPR. It's a wonderful, wonderful ability. So as we close, I want to go back to the story of Mrs. Newberry. It was more than just her spiritual gift that showed what she was really good at in ministry. It also included her heart. It included her what she loved to do. And one of the things she loved to do was teach kids. And it also had to do with her ability. Those are important factors in finding what kind of ministry God specifically shaped you to do. Well, we looked at spiritual gifts. We looked at heart, ability. I'm so glad you joined us. The next time we meet, the last time, we're going to take a look at the last two. We're going to take a look at our personality and we're going to look at our life experiences. We're going to have a great time doing that. I hope you don't miss that. We'll see you next time.